You're alone right now, or at least you think you are. Maybe you're sitting in your bedroom with the door closed. Maybe you're wearing headphones. Maybe there isn't another person within 20 feet of you. You probably haven't thought about it once, because privacy feels normal. It feels like something human beings have always had. But for almost the entire history of our species, this exact moment was impossible. For roughly 300,000 years, there were no bedrooms, no locked doors, no private conversations, no place where you could disappear for an hour and simply be by yourself. Every one of your ancestors lived surrounded by other people almost every waking moment of their lives. They hunted together, they ate together, they slept together, they even woke up together. So here's the question. How did ancient humans live when everyone knew everyone else's business? How did couples find time alone? How did people argue without an audience? Did they ever experience loneliness? Or was loneliness itself something they had never invented? The answer is far stranger than it first appears. Because ancient humans didn't simply survive without privacy. They built an entire social world that made privacy almost unnecessary. And understanding how they did it changes the way you look at your own life. Let's start with something that sounds almost impossible. Imagine living inside a space no larger than a small house. Not for a weekend, not during a camping trip, for your entire life. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies have repeatedly found that most people spent nearly all of their day within a short distance of the rest of the group. Small bands usually consisted of somewhere between 15 and 50 individuals who moved, worked, rested, and traveled together. Physical separation was uncommon, because staying close dramatically increased everyone's chances of survival. That number sounds surprisingly small, until you remember something. Those weren't strangers, those were the only people you knew. Your parents, your children, your grandparents, your closest friends, the people who had watched you grow up since birth, the people who noticed when you smiled differently, the people who could tell something was wrong before you even opened your mouth. There was almost nowhere to hide, and strangely, nobody expected you to. Modern humans often think privacy means walls. Our ancestors thought privacy meant trust. Those sound similar. They aren't. Today, if you want to keep something personal, you close a door. 30,000 years ago, there wasn't a door to close. Instead, people developed something much more subtle: shared understanding. Imagine sitting beside a campfire after sunset. Children are falling asleep. Someone is repairing a spear. A few hunters are quietly talking about tomorrow's journey. Nearby, another family is eating. Everyone can technically see everyone else. But that doesn't mean everyone is paying attention. Human beings have always been remarkably good at ignoring what social rules tell them to ignore. Think about riding an elevator. Nobody faces the back wall, nobody studies the person standing beside them. Everyone silently pretends the others don't exist for a few moments. Not because they physically can't look, because looking would violate an invisible agreement. Ancient camps worked in much the same way. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have found that psychological privacy often replaced physical privacy. People learned when to look away, when to remain silent, and when not to acknowledge something another person clearly wanted to keep personal. That invisible agreement solved far more problems than you might expect, because eventually everyone needed it. Think about arguments. Today, couples often disappear into another room. Parents wait until children are asleep. Friends send text messages nobody else can read. Ancient humans had none of those options. If two people argued loudly, the entire camp knew. At first, that sounds exhausting. But here's what's interesting. Living so closely together changed human behavior in ways most of us never consider. Small disagreements rarely stayed hidden long enough to become permanent. Someone noticed. Someone intervened. Sometimes it was an elder, sometimes another family member. Sometimes simply being surrounded by people made tempers cool more quickly than they otherwise would have, because conflict inside a hunter-gatherer band wasn't merely uncomfortable, it was dangerous. A divided group hunted less effectively, shared less food, protected children less efficiently. One personal disagreement could eventually affect everyone. Survival quietly rewarded cooperation, generation after generation, until reading emotions became one of humanity's greatest evolutionary strengths. Your ancestors became experts at noticing tiny changes. Someone stopped laughing. Someone avoided eye contact. Someone walked farther behind the group than usual. Long before anyone explained how they felt, everyone already knew. Modern psychologists call these nonverbal cues. Ancient humans simply called it paying attention. And perhaps that's the strangest part of all. The world with almost no physical privacy may have created people who understood each other better than we often do today. But there was one challenge no amount of social awareness could completely solve: love. Because eventually every human being wanted something that seemed almost impossible inside a camp where dozens of eyes were always nearby. Somehow, our ancestors found a way. Somewhere in that camp, two people fell in love. That part wasn't different. Your ancestors felt attraction. They felt jealousy. They felt affection. They formed lifelong bonds. Human emotions haven't changed nearly as much as human technology has. The problem was everything around those emotions. Imagine trying to spend time alone with someone when 20 other people are sitting around the same fire. There are no restaurants, no parks, no bedrooms, no weekend trips. Just open ground and a community that notices almost everything. At first it sounds impossible, but here's what anthropologists found. Privacy wasn't created by walls, it was created by timing. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have observed that couples often sought moments of intimacy after darkness fell or during routine tasks that naturally separated them from the rest of the group. Distance mattered, but social understanding mattered even more. People generally avoided drawing attention to another couple's private moments, even when everyone understood what was happening. Think about that for a moment. Darkness changes the human mind. It always has. During the day, every movement attracts attention. At night, the campfire creates islands of light surrounded by darkness. Step just a little beyond that glow, and your outline disappears. You haven't become invisible, you've become uncertain. For tens of thousands of years, that uncertainty was often enough. Not because people couldn't follow you, because they chose not to. That choice tells us something remarkable. Ancient communities understood that every person needed moments that belonged only to them. They simply expressed that need differently from us. Modern privacy depends on architecture. Ancient privacy depended on culture. That difference seems small. It isn't. Because culture travels with you. A wall stays where it was built. Here's where the story becomes even more interesting. The lack of privacy affected more than relationships. It changed the way people thought about themselves. Today, much of your identity exists inside your own head. You have private thoughts, private ambitions, private fears, entire parts of your personality that nobody else ever sees. Now imagine growing up in a world where nearly every important moment happened in front of people who had known you since birth. Your mistakes weren't hidden. Your successes weren't hidden either. If you became an exceptional hunter, everyone watched it happen. If you were generous, everyone remembered. If you were selfish, everyone remembered that too. Reputation wasn't something you managed online. It was something you lived every single day. And unlike today, it was incredibly difficult to fake. Anthropologists sometimes describe hunter-gatherer societies as intensely egalitarian. Material possessions were limited, food was frequently shared, and survival depended on maintaining trust within the group. In a community where everyone observed everyday behavior, reputation became one of the most valuable resources a person could have. Think about how different that is from modern life. Today you can reinvent yourself, move to another city, start a new job, create a different online identity. Your ancestors couldn't. Their history followed them everywhere because the people who remembered it walked beside them every day. That sounds restrictive, but it also created something we've quietly lost: consistency. The version of yourself your family knew, the version your friends knew, the version your children knew, they were all the same person. There was very little space for pretending. And perhaps that's one reason trust developed so deeply inside small human communities. Everyone knew who everyone really was, not because people confessed everything, because daily life revealed it automatically. That's the strange paradox of ancient privacy. People possessed fewer secrets, but they often enjoyed stronger relationships. Modern humans have mastered hiding from one another. Our ancestors mastered understanding one another. Neither world was perfect. One offered freedom, the other offered belonging, and somewhere between those two worlds, we may have traded more than we realize.